Let me tell you something the women in white coats will never admit while the camera is rolling. The very people who blend the creams that sell for $300 an ounce go home at night, wash their faces, and reach for something that costs them less than a sandwich. They keep that quiet because their paycheck depends on you believing the opposite. But here's what they understand that you were never meant to figure out. The ingredients that actually change your skin are cheap, almost laughably cheap. The thing you're really paying for when you hand over that money is the weight of the jar in your palm, the perfume rising off the cream, the famous face on the advertisement, and the little fairy tale printed on the side of the box. Strip all of that away, and what's left underneath is very often the same handful of molecules sitting inside the bottle you could have bought for $8. And sometimes, the inexpensive one is the better one, because it didn't bother loading itself up with the heavy scent and the decorative extras that quietly irritate older skin in the first place. So today we're doing this differently. I'm not handing you one magic ingredient or some buried trick you have to memorize. I'm giving you 5 real companies whose products are already sitting on shelves you walk past every week. Products you can hold in your hands by the weekend, that the beauty world treats like they're invisible. It ignores them on purpose, because they're plain, because nobody's paying influencers to wave them around, and because they're cheap. And yet, if you know precisely which item to grab off each of those shelves, every one of them is a hidden treasure. These are the brands that quietly do more for your skin than products costing 10 and 20 times as much, while the prestige names pour their fortune into glass and into your fear of the mirror. By the time we're done here, you will be able to assemble a full, genuinely excellent routine. Cleanse, treat, moisturize, protect, all of it, for less than what one luxury serum would have cost you. I'll tell you exactly which products to reach for and which ones to leave on the shelf. And I'll be honest with you, I saved the most surprising one of all for the very end, because once you hear what it is, you'll never look at your grandmother's dresser the same way again. But none of these brands will help you if you don't first understand the one rule underneath all of it. So let's start there, because without it, you'll go right on overpaying for the rest of your life. Here is the rule, and once it lands, it never leaves you. When you buy skincare, you are actually paying for 2 completely different things, and they have almost nothing to do with each other. The first thing is the formula. That's the real substance, the working ingredients, the part that actually sinks into your skin and does the job. The second thing is the theater. That's the heaviness of the frosted glass, the scent that drifts up when you open the lid, the celebrity's name in elegant lettering, the woman in the laboratory coat nodding at you from the screen, the whole warm rush of feeling expensive when you smooth it on. And the masterstroke of this entire industry, the trick they've spent decades perfecting, is teaching you to believe those 2 things are one and the same. They taught you that if something feels costly, it must be working harder. It isn't true. A genuinely powerful, intelligently built product can live inside a plain plastic tube and cost you almost nothing. A weak, forgettable one can sit inside a sculpted crystal jar and cost you $400. The price tells you about the packaging and the marketing budget. It does not tell you about your skin. And the moment you learn to pull the formula apart from the theater in your own mind, the entire pricing scheme of this business simply falls apart in front of you. These 5 brands are exactly where that collapse starts working in your favor instead of against you. Let's begin with the first one. This is the company that built one of the most respected drugstore reputations in the country, not by shouting, but by quietly stacking real ingredients into honest little bottles. And I'm talking about CeraVe. Now, I know that name doesn't make your heart race. It doesn't sound exclusive. It sounds like something a nurse hands you, which is precisely the point, and precisely the trap. Because this brand was built around a class of ingredients called ceramides, and ceramides are not a gimmick. They're one of the actual building materials your skin is made of. Picture the surface of your skin like a brick wall. The cells are the bricks, and the ceramides are the mortar holding everything tight and sealed. As you get older, your skin makes less and less of that mortar, and the wall starts letting moisture leak out and irritation seep in. That's the thinning, the tightness, the rough patches, the way your skin suddenly seems to react to everything. Rebuild that mortar, and you've addressed the problem at its root, rather than just painting over the cracks. The luxury counters will sell you a barrier repair complex for a sum that would make your eyes water, and a good portion of what's inside is doing the same job this modest tube does for a few dollars. The hero here is the moisturizing cream in the tub, the rich one, the workhorse that seals everything in overnight. Their gentle, hydrating cleanser is just as worthy, washing the day off your face without leaving it stripped and squeaking. I'll give you the honest caveat because I always will. The thick cream can feel like too much in the daytime under makeup, so use the lighter lotion for mornings and save the heavy tub for night. But for replacing what your aging skin has stopped making on its own, this is the truth in a jar. It isn't glamorous, it just works, and the fact that it isn't glamorous is the only reason it's still affordable. Now to the second brand, and this one is the quiet favorite of the people who actually went to medical school for your skin. I'm talking about Vanicream, and almost nobody mentions it online for one simple reason. There's nothing dramatic to say about it. That's exactly why it's a gold mine. This brand was built on a single, dull, brilliant idea. Take everything out that bothers skin. No fragrance, no dyes, no harsh additives. None of the extras that make a cream smell beautiful and feel expensive while quietly inflaming and reddening mature skin over time. And here is the connection almost no one makes, the one I really want you to hold on to. Fragrance is one of the most common triggers of skin irritation there is, and irritation is one of the sneaky, invisible engines of premature aging. Every single time your skin is inflamed, it is under stress, and that low, constant stress wears the barrier down and speeds up the very lines you are spending money to fight. The prestige world soaks its products in scent because scent is the experience, the part that sells. But after a certain age, when your skin is already thinner and quicker to react, that lovely perfume can be working against you a little more every day you use it. Vanicream's moisturizing cream is the one to reach for. A plain, rich, fragrance-free cream that seals the skin and rebuilds the barrier for a handful of dollars, doing the work of something 5 times its price. Their cleanser is just as gentle and just as good. There's no campaign here, no glossy spread, no famous face. There is only a quietly excellent formula that the experts trust, precisely because it does almost nothing except the one thing that genuinely matters. If your skin is sensitive, reactive, or simply exhausted from being irritated by products that promise the world, this is what the professionals reach for when no one's watching them. The third brand is going to sound far too humble to take seriously, and that reaction, that little flinch of, "Oh, that old thing," is exactly the trap laid for you. I'm talking about Aquaphor, and the plain healing ointment that comes in the tube and the tub. Your mother probably had it in a drawer. Maybe she put it on your scraped knees, and it is one of the most quietly effective occlusive products ever made, and it costs next to nothing. And the entire luxury world would prefer you keep thinking of it as something only for babies and chapped lips. Here is the chemistry it's hiding right out in the open. As skin ages, it stops producing its own oil, and it starts losing water straight into the dry air around you. And that water loss is what carves every line deeper and roughens every bit of texture. What aging skin desperately needs is an occlusive, a rich sealing layer that traps moisture inside and stops it escaping into the air. That is precisely what this ointment does, and it does it beautifully. People paying a fortune for thick night balms and overnight masks are very often paying for a dressed-up version of what this little tube does for the price of a coffee. Smooth a thin layer over slightly damp skin at night, or dab it onto the dry, cracked spots, the corners of your mouth, your knuckles, the rough skin winter leaves behind, and it goes to work. I'll be fair with you. It is genuinely rich, almost greasy, so if your skin is oily or prone to breakouts, you keep this to the dry zones and the trouble spots, rather than coating your whole face. But for thirsty, mature, parched skin, it is one of the great undervalued products in the entire store. A formula this old and this cheap survives the decades for one reason only. It works. And the fact that nobody thinks it's fashionable is the entire reason it's still sitting there at that price. The fourth brand genuinely embarrasses the department store counter because it punches so far above what it costs that it almost isn't fair. I'm talking about Olay, and the Regenerist line in particular. This is a drugstore brand. It sits on the shelf near the shampoo and the cotton balls. And yet, that line is loaded with the actives that actually have real science standing behind them for aging skin. Things like niacinamide and peptides and humectants at a fraction of what the prestige creams charge, while they make the very same promises. Here's the part that matters most. Niacinamide is one of the few anti-aging ingredients with genuine, repeated research behind it. It evens out your tone, it supports the barrier, it helps soften the look of fine lines and rough texture, and it calms redness. And this brand builds its formulas around it without charging you a fortune for the privilege. The company has openly placed its products side by side against creams costing many times more, and again, the affordable formula holds its ground. The only reason this isn't common knowledge is that there's no prestige in admitting your best result came off a drugstore shelf. So the conversation stays politely fixed on the expensive names, while the cheap one quietly gets the job done. The Regenerist moisturizers and serums are the ones to look at. A daily niacinamide-rich cream, the peptide serum, and their gentle retinol option if you want a little renewal without the harshness. You're getting researched, effective ingredients in a formula that performs, for the cost of a couple of coffees instead of a car payment. For the woman who was told all her life that real results demand a luxury budget, this brand is the proof sitting right there on the aisle you walk past. The budget was never the point. The ingredients always were. And now the fifth one, the one I saved for last because it's the most overlooked of them all. And for you especially, it may turn out to be the most meaningful. I'm talking about plain old petroleum jelly. Yes, the basic jar of Vaseline that has been sitting in medicine cabinets since the 1800s. Generations of women used it for everything, and it's still here, still costing almost nothing, still doing exactly what it always did, and nearly everyone under 60 has completely forgotten it has a place on your face at all. Here's why it's a hidden treasure. It is the gold standard occlusive, the single most effective sealing ingredient there is. And dermatologists know it, even as the marketing world repackages the same idea under fancy names and premium prices. There's even a name for the technique now, slugging, where you seal slightly damp skin under a thin layer at night so that not a drop of moisture escapes for hours. People talk about it like it's a brand new discovery. It isn't. Your grandmother was doing a version of it before anyone gave it a clever name. A thin film over a hydrating layer, pressed onto skin that's still a little damp, and your face holds its water through the whole night. Now the honest caveat, and it's an important one. This is purely a sealant, not a treatment, so it works on top of your moisturizer and your actives, never instead of them. And you keep it well away from your skin if you're acne-prone, because it will trap everything underneath. The bad along with the good. But used correctly, over the right layers, on dry, mature skin, it is one of the most powerful and most absurdly cheap tools you will ever own. In an industry obsessed with the newest launch, something this old gets dismissed as a relic. It is not a relic. It is a survivor. And things survive 150 years in this business for exactly one reason. So there are your 5. CeraVe, for ceramides that rebuild the very wall your skin is losing. Vanicream, for gentle, fragrance-free barrier care the experts quietly trust. Aquaphor, for rich, overnight sealing on the parts of you that crack and chap. Olay Regenerist, for researched anti-aging that performs far above its price. And humble petroleum jelly, for locking every last drop of moisture in while you sleep. Now let me show you how this actually comes together, because individually, these are good products. But the real power, the part that should make you a little angry at everything you've been sold, is how cheaply they assemble into a complete routine that rivals anything on a luxury counter. In the morning, you cleanse gently, the CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser, or simply warm water if your skin runs dry. Then you treat, pressing a niacinamide layer or the Olay Regenerist serum into skin that's still slightly damp so it can drink it in. Then you moisturize, smoothing the lighter Olay or CeraVe lotion over the top to hold it all. And then the step that matters more than every other step on this list combined. The one that does more for your face than every cream put together. Sunscreen. Every single day, rain or shine, summer or winter. Because as much as 90% of the visible aging on your face, the spots, the lines, the loss of firmness, comes from the sun, and not one product on this list, cheap or expensive, can outrun a single unprotected afternoon. There is no serum on earth that beats a hat and a good sunscreen. At night, you cleanse again, you press in your hydrating layers, and then you seal everything down with a Vanicream cream or a thin film of Aquaphor or petroleum jelly, so your skin holds on to its moisture through 8 uninterrupted hours of sleep. Add it all up. A cleanser, a treatment, a daytime moisturizer, a sunscreen, a night seal. A genuinely complete, genuinely effective routine for less than the price of one mid-tier luxury serum, with money left over. That is the entire point of everything I've told you. The complete routine costs less than the single product the counter wanted to sell you, and it works at least as well, often better, because it's built on formula instead of theater. And let me be straight with you, because I won't pretend there's no nuance, and I am not a dermatologist. Cheap does not automatically mean good. There are bad cheap products, and there are good expensive ones. And the real skill is knowing which specific items inside each of these brands are the gems. Which is exactly why I named the products rather than just telling you to go buy Drugstore and good luck. Some of these are rich, and they won't suit oily or breakout-prone skin. So patch test a small spot first, and keep the heavy occlusives to your dry zones if you tend to clog easily. Introduce active ingredients one at a time, slowly, rather than layering 5 new things onto your face in a single night and wondering why everything's red. And if you have a genuine skin condition, or you're using anything prescribed, your own doctor's advice beats any video, mine very much included. That honesty is the whole value of what I do here. Anyone who tells you that price is a dependable signal of quality in skincare is either uninformed or trying to sell you something. What I really want you to walk away with isn't a list of 5 brands, it's a way of seeing the entire aisle. Once you truly understand that you're paying separately for the formula and for the fantasy, you stop being a target and you start being a buyer. You walk into the store, you ignore the flattering lighting bouncing off the glass and the woman in the white coat smiling down at you, and you turn the box over and read the actual ingredients and reach for the tube that delivers them without the markup. That skill is worth more than any single product I could ever name, because it keeps working on every shelf in every store for the rest of your life. The expensive brands aren't truly afraid of losing one sale. They're afraid of you learning to see, because a woman who can tell the formula from the theater never overpays again. If this was useful to you, the best thing you can do is put it to work this week. Pick one product off this list, swap it in for something overpriced you're using right now, and judge it for yourself in your own mirror. And do me a favor, drop a comment and tell me the most expensive skincare product you have ever bought, and whether it honestly outperformed the cheap stuff, because I read every one of them. And the pattern hiding in those answers tells the real story, better than any advertisement ever could. If you want the rest of this, the things the aisle doesn't want you decoding, subscribe and stay with me, because there's a whole community here quietly learning to stop overpaying and start buying smart, and it grows a little every week. Next time, I'm going further into the markup than I ever have, putting specific, cheap products directly head-to-head against the expensive bottles they nearly match, ingredient for ingredient. No vague, try a drugstore version. The actual matches laid bare. That one is going to ruffle some feathers. I'll see you there.